Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to Tutor Curiosity again, and I'm Sori. Okay, today we're going to discuss 4 steps that you can use to approach grammar and make it just easier for you. Because as you know and you can imagine, grammar is not something that's everyone's favorite aspect in learning English. So I'm going to guide you with some of that today. I'm going to share my screen of a book that I use with some students. And okay, so I've just got a typical grammar piece from a book, and usually one of the first steps, or the first step that I usually recommend, is for the student to, if they're reading a text, say, from Google or from a book or from anywhere, basically, if you have it physically, or if you have a text that you're going over and you can actually highlight somehow, that's really recommended. So the first step is to read and highlight. Okay, let me get my tools here. So usually in the groups we read together, or I get, if it's not a one-on-one class and it's a group class, I get each of them to read together, read to each other out aloud, which is really good because that way you practice your pronunciation. So as you read and as you read out aloud, you just, anything that you see personally that is worth highlighting for you to remember as a worthwhile idea, you can highlight. So you can highlight basically examples or anything that you want to remember later and you find useful, or that it can be useful. Okay, so that's what I get my students to do. Basically 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to do that quickly. I mean, if you're a slow reader, you can certainly use more time. But yeah, so read and highlight. It's really important because to read is to learn, basically, because you're reading something that maybe you don't know, and you can acquire this knowledge, this new knowledge. And you can also, like, as you're reading, you may find things that you do remember from high school, or from somewhere, from some course that you studied. So it's really important. The second step, I usually get my students to discuss. I mean, if they can discuss with each other what they understood of the grammar text. They can give each other oral examples, or if I send them out to the breakout rooms on Zoom, they can actually write examples as they are talking to their peers. They can write examples in the chat. I mean, there's so many ways that you can discuss, but mainly this second step is discussing all the grammar points. And this way, this is very important because we give each other feedback. When you're with someone else, that person can actually see things that you might not, or it might be clear to you on a particular concept, and you can explain it to your classmates. So vice versa, right? So that's why it's so important to discuss what you have read. Now, if you are not in a group and if you are at home, you can still discuss, right? It may seem a bit weird, and it may not be the same as obviously being with someone else, but you can actually read out aloud, or you can explain out aloud to yourself. And you can do this by recording yourself on your cell phone, or you can actually just do it out aloud. And well, it's going to be difficult to correct yourself, but you may find that when you do this, you find mistakes. You say, oh, I said that. That's why it's good to record yourself. So, but of course, it's recommended to be at least with another person that can give you feedback. Okay, so that's the second step. The third step, I always get, and let me stop sharing and see if I can. The next step is to basically, when I'm together on Zoom with a class or with a one-on-one teaching, right? I usually provide a Google Docs with them. Let me see if I can share my screen again. Let's see if I can see my Google Docs. Okay, so you can so I usually share a Google Docs with them, and that way we can all participate. I know that, Google Docs is very common, so you can and then we can talk about it, and I can give feedback to them as soon as they start writing their examples. So we're talking about, present continuous on this on the book. So I can write, I am going to the dentist, which is a pretty simple sentence, tomorrow, right? So just the simple. So we can all participate on the Google Docs. Of course, I have to share it, but yeah. And that way I give them feedback as they write, and we can all give each other feedback and have a lot of fun. While we're there. Okay, so let me share my screen again and go back to the book. Okay, so the third step, so we've got the first step is to read and highlight. The second step is to discuss or read out aloud or explain out aloud. And the third step is to write examples or type examples in this sense, like on a Google Docs. The fourth step, if you have maybe a book, or if you're on a Google page and there are exercises that you can do the exercises. It's really, really good practice. And there you will find also that you can get feedback. And as you can see, in every step, from step number 2, we've got feedback that others can give us, right? The teacher can give us, and also our classmates, right? And it's really, really good practice. And here the same, we go over I usually give some minutes for the students to complete, or else we can do it together as well, so we don't waste any precious time. And then we can go over one by one the answers and say, okay, but why is that one wrong? Can you explain it to me? And then that way we can definitely provide concrete explanations for the answers. Okay, so that is the fourth step. They are the 4 steps that I recommend if you read a piece of grammar. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this kind of grammar tutorial, and I'll see you soon.